Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're tackling a case study that I think you'll find pretty fascinating. It's all about how one company managed to turn around a failing global IT hub and transform it into their top-performing site.
Yeah, it's really something else. It's all about scaling excellence and the secret weapon.
A two-tiered OKR system, right?
Exactly. But this isn't your typical by-the-book OKR approach.
Right, it sounds way more interesting than that.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be dissecting episode 46 of Michele Bressoni's podcast, Forge of Unicorns, to understand how he did it.
Perfect. So Bressoni calls this his holistic evolution approach.
Yeah.
And in this episode, he really gets into how strategic and tactical OKRs were like the foundation of this whole transformation.
Right.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of it all, can you set the scene for us a bit? Like, what was the initial situation at this IT hub?
Okay, so basically, this global IT hub, it was on the verge of failure.
Really?
They were facing serious cost-cutting measures. It was a pretty dire situation.
Wow, so they were really on the chopping block.
Pretty much. But then Bressoni and his team came in, and they managed to completely turn things around. It's incredible.
That's amazing. So what do they actually do?
Well, they used a really fascinating combination of what he calls behavioral engineering and socio-technical rewiring.
Socio-technical rewiring.
Yeah, it's kind of like rewiring the social and technical systems in a way that optimizes both. Anyway, they used that along with his holistic approach to revitalize the whole hub. It's pretty mind-blowing when you see how it all came together.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. But I think what really caught my attention was how the CIO responded to this whole thing. Apparently, he was completely blown away by this two-tiered OKR system. What made it so different from the usual, top-down KPI-heavy approach we see so often?
Yeah, good question. I think the real difference lies in the emphasis on behavior rather than just measuring outputs. You see, traditional OKRs often focus on what gets done, the results.
Right.
But Bressoni's system, it dives into the how things get done. Like the behaviors and the processes, that's where the magic happens.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but let's break it down a bit. First up, strategic OKRs. What's the main focus there?
Well, with strategic OKRs, it's all about embedding technical excellence into the very DNA of the organization. It's about setting that high bar for quality and creating a culture where continuous learning and improvement, they're just the norm.
So it's not just about hitting specific numbers or deadlines, but about fostering a mindset, a culture of excellence, right?
Exactly. Bressoni, he talks about specific examples in the episode, like achieving those high technical standards across all the teams, encouraging a culture of collaboration and psychological safety.
It sounds like a great work environment.
Yeah, and then there's fostering what he calls continuous mastery, where everyone's constantly learning and growing their skills.
I love that idea of continuous mastery. Always be learning. But how do they actually measure progress toward these goals? I mean, they sound pretty ambitious.
That's where it gets really interesting. Instead of just relying on those traditional performance metrics, they use key results that actually measure the behaviors and practices that lead to technical excellence. For instance, they track things like DORA metrics.
Okay, full disclosure, I'm not exactly a tech whiz, so for those of us who might not be familiar, could you quickly explain what DORA metrics are?
Sure. So DORA metrics, they basically look at things like how quickly a team can deliver working software and how often they encounter problems or bugs. And by tracking these metrics in real time, they could actually see if the teams were becoming more efficient and if the quality of the work was improving, which, was a direct reflection of that goal of technical excellence.
That makes total sense. So by tracking these DORA metrics, they're basically getting a pulse on whether their efforts are actually moving the needle towards their bigger strategic goals.
Precisely.
Smart.
And they didn't stop there. They also measured things like collaboration and even burnout. Can you believe it?
Wow, burnout.
Yeah, using specific key behavioral indicators or KPIs.
That's amazing.
Think about it. If you're aiming for technical excellence, you really need to understand how the teams are working together and if they're feeling overwhelmed, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Measuring burnout as a key indicator of success, that's a pretty unique approach. It really shows how they're taking this holistic view of what it takes to build a high-performing team.
You got it. They understood that technical excellence, it's not just about individual skills. It's about creating that supportive and healthy work environment where everyone can actually thrive.
Okay, well said. Now, you mentioned something earlier that really caught my attention, the SW Craftsmanship Dojo. It sounds like it plays a pretty key role in all of this. What exactly is it? And how does it connect to these strategic OKRs?
All right, so think of the SW Craftsmanship Dojo as a dedicated space, right? Like a learning lab where teams can come together, master their craft, share knowledge, and build those high-quality engineering practices we've been talking about.
So it's like a training ground for excellence then. But how does this dojo actually help them achieve their strategic goals?
It provides that practical framework and the support system for teams to put those strategic OKRs into action. They're not just setting goals in a vacuum. They're creating a dedicated environment where those goals can actually be achieved.
I see. So it's kind of like giving them the tools and the space they need to actually achieve those goals, not just talk about them.
Exactly. It's about making excellence the most natural and supported path for everyone. And it's not just about the individual either.
Right, right. It's about the whole team, the whole organization, all working together towards that shared goal of excellence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about these strategic OKRs and how they focus on building that strong foundation of technical excellence within the organization. But what about the customer? Where do they fit into all of this? That's where the tactical OKRs come in, right?
You got it. The tactical OKRs, they connect all that internal excellence to tangible customer value. So it's about making sure that all that technical mastery translates into a truly exceptional customer experience. So it's like, while strategic OKRs focus on building that engine for excellence, tactical OKRs make sure that engine is actually driving the car in the right direction, towards that awesome customer experience.
Got it. So it's not enough to just have the best engineers and cutting-edge tech. They also need to be laser-focused on delivering value to the customer.
Exactly. And they went beyond just, those typical metrics like customer satisfaction scores. They really dug deep into what truly mattered to their customers. Like, for instance, they focused on connecting their products and services to a seamless and positive customer journey.
Yeah, that sounds like a big shift from just focusing on individual features or just transactions.
It is. It is. They also prioritize developing those features that really contribute to customer satisfaction and engagement, always keeping that long-term value creation in mind. It's about building those products and services that people actually love to use.
Okay, I can see how that aligns with that whole software craftsmanship idea that Bressoni's always talking about. But how do you actually measure something like a positive customer journey? It seems kind of intangible.
That's where those tactical key results come into play. They tracked things like trends in their Net Promoter Score, or NPS, which basically measures how likely customers are to recommend their products or services to others.
So they're not just guessing about whether customers are happy, they're actively measuring it.
Exactly. And it goes even further than that. They also kept an eye on their 5-star review rates, tracked those time to value metrics, and even built user feedback loops directly into their development process.
Wow, so they're constantly gathering feedback and then using it to refine their approach. That's really cool. Talk about a customer-centric culture.
Right. It's pretty impressive. And when you think about it, it sounds like this two-tiered system really creates this incredible synergy between internal excellence and those customer-focused outcomes. Would you say that was the secret sauce that led to that impressive turnaround of the IT hub?
I think so. It's like they cracked the code. We often hear about this tension between technical excellence and meeting those business needs. But this system, it seems like it bridges that gap beautifully.
It does. And by really weaving technical mastery, customer centricity, and continuous improvement into their very DNA, they've created this system where all those things actually reinforce each other.
That's pretty powerful. But let's get back to the impact of all of this for a second. I remember reading that the IT hub not only survived, but absolutely thrived after implementing this approach. What can you tell us about the results?
Oh, the results were remarkable. Remember, this was a hub that was literally on the verge of being shut down. But after putting this two-tiered OKR system in place, they saw a complete 180. You know what I mean? They went from facing cuts to actually growing by over 300%.
Whoa. Okay, that's a serious turnaround story. It's like they went from zero to hero in record time. But was it just about the numbers?
No, not at all. B became a model for the entire organization. It proved that this approach could not only save a struggling department, but also create a blueprint for sustainable growth and innovation across the board.
That's incredible. And what was that thing about PwC auditors being impressed by all of this?
Oh, yeah. The PwC auditors saw this whole thing as a blueprint for the future of IT governance. It wasn't just a one-off success story. It had real-world implications for how large organizations can actually effectively manage their IT departments.
So it wasn't just about meeting their own goals. They were basically redefining what good IT governance looks like. That's pretty impressive. But let's not forget about the role of those dojos in all of this. They seem to be a pretty integral part of this whole system, right?
Absolutely. Remember, it's not just about setting goals. It's about providing the right tools and support systems to help people achieve those goals. And the dojos, with their focus on that hands-on learning, collaboration, and mastery, they were essential in turning those strategic OKRs into a reality.
And those KPIs measuring things like collaboration and burnout, they played a crucial role in creating that healthy and high-performing environment too, right?
Yeah, totally. They understood that technical excellence, it really thrives in a culture where people feel supported, engaged, and empowered to do their best work. It's about creating a system where everyone feels invested in the success of the team and ultimately the customer.
It all comes back to that holistic evolution approach that Bressoni talks about. It's not just about the tech or the metrics. It's about creating a culture of excellence that impacts every part of the organization. But hang on a second. I seem to remember that this episode of Forge of Unicorns went beyond just this one case study. Didn't Bressoni also give a bit of a warning about the future of software development? Something about the rise of AI?
Oh, yeah, he did. He did. While this case study is all about the incredible power of this two-tiered OKR approach, Bressoni also kind of highlights how the tech landscape is changing so rapidly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
He argues that with the rise of AI, high-quality software engineering, which was once a differentiator, is quickly becoming the bare minimum to even compete.
So he's saying that companies need to step up their game big time if they want to stay relevant in this new AI-driven world.
Yeah, pretty much. He even mentioned those massive voluntary buyouts at Google and similar moves by Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, all as evidence of this shift. It's like he's warning everyone that organizations need to adapt or risk being left behind.
It's a good point. It sounds like he's issuing a challenge to businesses and investors to really embrace this new era of AI-driven engineering excellence and rethink their strategies accordingly.
He is. He really emphasizes the need for organizations to evolve their OKR strategies to stay ahead of the curve. He believes that without that forward-thinking approach, they risk becoming stagnant and losing their competitive edge in this rapidly changing world.
So while the case study we've been discussing gives us this great roadmap for success, it also reminds us that that journey towards excellence, it never really ends. It's about constantly adapting, innovating, and pushing those boundaries of what's possible.
It is. And this two-tiered OKR system, with its focus on cultivating a culture of excellence, prioritizing customer centricity, and embracing the power of AI, it seems like a really powerful framework for navigating the challenges and opportunities of this new era.
It's a good reminder that true success isn't just about achieving those goals, but about building a system that fosters continuous learning, growth, and innovation. It's about creating an organization that's agile, adaptable, and always striving for that next level of excellence.
Exactly. And that's where this deep dive comes full circle. By understanding the principles behind this two-tiered OKR system, we can all apply these lessons to our own work, our teams, and even our personal lives. It's about recognizing that excellence isn't a destination. It's an ongoing journey of continuous improvement.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the potential to achieve amazing things when we combine the right mindset with the right tools and a relentless commitment to excellence.
And that's what makes Bressoni's story so inspiring. It shows us that even when facing those seemingly impossible challenges, we can not only survive but thrive when we embrace a culture of excellence and a relentless focus on the customer.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of scaling excellence, I want to leave you with this question. How can you apply the principles of this two-tiered OKR system to your own life and work?
Think about your own goals, your own challenges, and your own areas for growth. Where could you benefit from a more strategic and tactical approach? How can you weave in the principles of technical mastery, customer centricity, and continuous improvement into your own pursuits?
It's something to really think about. Whether you're leading a team, running a company, or just trying to become the best version of yourself, the lessons we've explored today can serve as a powerful roadmap for achieving your own extraordinary results.
And don't forget to check out episode 46 of Forge of Unicorns for yourself. There's so much more to unpack in that episode, and I guarantee you'll walk away with a fresh perspective and a renewed sense of inspiration.
You'll find a link to that episode in our show notes. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing those boundaries of excellence. It's amazing how much we've unpacked just from this one case study. It really shows how powerful the right approach to OKRs can be. It's not about setting those random goals and just checking boxes. It's about creating a system that builds excellence from the ground up.
Right. And remembering that excellence, it's not like a finish line you cross. It's more like a journey, one of constant learning, adapting, and growing. It's a mindset shift, not just about hitting metrics.
I love that. It's about always striving to be better, do better, and create better experiences for yourself and everyone around you. And the cool thing is this mindset. It's not limited to just one field or industry. You can apply it to anything you set your mind to.
Totally. Whether you're leading a team, building a product, or just working on your own skills, the principles we've talked about today, they can be incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage everyone listening to think about areas in their own lives where they could benefit from a more strategic and tactical approach to their goals. Where could you apply what we've learned about this two-tiered OKR system?
Good question. Think about your own goals, the challenges you face, and where you want to grow. Where could you use a more strategic and tactical approach? How can you weave in those principles of technical mastery, customer centricity, and that commitment to continuous improvement?
It's about thinking deeper, going beyond the surface and really understanding the behaviors and the systems that drive real success. It's about asking those tough questions, challenging the status quo, and always being open to learning and growing.
And I think most importantly, it's about embracing the whole journey. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Those small steps, those incremental improvements, they all add up over time and lead to amazing results.
They do. So take what you've learned today, use it to fuel your own journey toward excellence. Remember, it's not about reaching some imaginary finish line. It's about constantly pushing yourself to be better, do better, create a better world around you.
And hey, who knows? Maybe someday we'll be featuring your story as a shining example of achieving remarkable results through a commitment to excellence.
Wouldn't that be something? But until then, keep learning, keep growing, keep striving for that next level. And don't forget to check out episode 46 of Forge of Unicorns for even more inspiration and insights.
We'll make sure to include a link to that episode in our show notes.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe to the Forge of Unicorns to stay up to date with our latest episodes.